Hi everybody, this is Brian Koo with another ROK video. This is what you fight for. You fight for those entrances into Kingsland. You fight to get one step closer to the Ziggurat. And in this case, it is a relaxed, somewhat unorganized entrance into KL. We've got an Alex swarming. I was swarming with my Guan and my Saladin earlier because we just weren't prepared and nobody else was swarming. But we're moving in nevertheless, and we're looking to see what our enemies have in store for us. At this point in the Lost Kingdom, they know they're in trouble. They're pretty sure they've lost. We have 6 of the 8 entrances into Kingsland on our side. And once we saw that the enemy hadn't really gathered a lot of people at their passes, we thought for a moment or two that we were in for a very chill day. And I'm the kind of person who loves a chill day. So at this point, I was in quite a good mood as both sides rolled out and we entered the phase where you're trying to slow down or straight up prevent the enemy from getting their flags down. Our Korean friends have already engaged the enemy at a flag they're placing via a mountain hop. And we were walking our way there. You can tell by the enemy's lack of numbers that they're not feeling too confident, they're not feeling too motivated. One of the kingdoms on the enemy side had flags at the pass but didn't even show up. And as we scroll around here, you'll start to understand why the enemy is feeling demoralized. We're showing up in good numbers, but as I zoom out and spot an enemy fort being placed, the next thing I spot is tons of sad faces. And here's why. There's our allies in 2206. They were the best allies we ever had. They were a super strong kingdom. And they helped us make a 2 versus 6 Strife of the 8 look easy. And for them, it probably was easy. For us, it was hard. So, after a long war, we were looking for that chill final day of fighting. And then we realized we weren't going to get it. Because those kingdoms that we had spent a week keeping contained in their starting zone had now broken out, and they flagged across the zone with surprising quickness. And though we were supposed to get a fort down to block them from the pass, we did not get that fort down in time. We're trying to build it now. But 2202 was feeling themselves on this auspicious Kingsland opening day. And so they flagged all the way to our pass, way faster than we expected. And they started applying pressure to us. And I remember getting really irritated. A lot of us were on voice, and I just was like really irritated that for maybe 30 minutes, I thought we could just kind of chill out and meme and, shoot the shit. And all of a sudden we had to think and fight and even feel a little bit of stress because we really didn't want them to destroy this fort, to flag to the pass, take the pass, and then actually break into a zone 6 where we probably had, 30, 40 cities that had lived there peacefully for the last 2 weeks and were not expecting to get attacked. So we had a fight on our hands. And one of the themes of this video is that kingdoms know when they have an edge. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at how many marches you have on the field, look at how many marches the enemy has, and figure out whether you have an advantage or not. And many kingdoms in this game, even if they are losing, even if they have had a very underwhelming KvK up to a given point, when they see an advantage, they're going to take it. Because fighting is fun, and winning a fight is even better. We did eventually repel this attack. We ended up fighting in this zone for 3 or 4 hours. We had some flags already set up, and essentially we just stretched the enemy out. We started attacking several of their flags, and they eventually broke down. I'm basically gonna skip forward in time quite a few times in this video. This is gonna be the last video from this KvK. I'm just gonna try to give you a sense of how the second half of this war went. After we had won, after we had clearly taken control of Kingsland, but while we still had a lot of territory that we still needed to burn. You can see here in yellow how quickly the enemy has taken over Maka, the zone where we did most of our fighting in the KvK. We've taken most of Kingsland at this point. Actually, we've taken all of Kingsland at this point. And we're just trying to get through Zone 6 and really just set up our invasions of a few starting zones. Later on, we'll make a deal with 651 here, as well as 2202. But at this point, we hadn't made a deal, and 651 placed a fort in a zone right outside of Kingsland. And again, this is a day or two later, but again, we have this grueling, kind of annoying fight where the enemy recognized an advantage, and they made us work for it. And that's really the beauty of Rise of Kingdoms. You have to burn down every flag. You have to burn down every fort. You have to actually take all that territory. And at every step along the way, you have a choice of how much force to bring. And the enemy has a choice every step of the way on whether they defend or not. So Rise of Kingdoms is a simple game and a profound game at the same time. You have to take it step by step. And you can string small victories together, or you can suffer small losses in succession. And those small events add together and they determine the rise of an alliance and the rise of a kingdom. We have all played the game long enough that we have seen groups rise and groups fall. And in almost every case, it's not one big event that determines their fate, but it is a number of small decisions that combine together to determine the outcome. Every new recruit you bring in, every good trade you get, every resource tile you gather, each tap of the screen you make. The only reason we tap the screen over and over again, doing these mundane tasks, is because of the profound moments along that road. And that marathon dynamic applies as well on the diplomatic level. Because the two kingdoms we're fighting here had not done a lot in this KvK, but they cut deals at the end to keep territory and stay in the Lost Kingdom until the end of the term. Which cannot be said for our primary adversary, 2056. And it's not to say that these kingdoms played better than 2056, because they did not. But it alludes to the long, step-by-step grind of the game. And it refers to the endless opportunities that players, alliances, and kingdoms have to make good moves or bad ones. Once we destroyed this 1651 fort, we were able to burn through the rest of this zone very quickly. And what that meant was enemy territory being cut off and enemy cities being exposed to get zeroed. So we were entering the spoils of war phase of the Lost Kingdom, which is an enjoyable phase where we campaign across the map, disconnecting territory and zeroing AFK farmers we find along the way. And one nice thing about ROK is that when you win a war, the game lets you feel like a conqueror. I've shot ahead now, a week later. We are now in the 2056 start zone, and we are finishing off the biggest zero our kingdom has ever had. Roy Burkhart was 104 million power at his peak. We took all of that power away and sacked all of his ample resources. At this point, his friends have teleported back to the home kingdom. Some of them may have been unaware of this Epic Zero for days later. I'm actually having to skip over a really nice fight that we had with 2056 as we tried to invade their start zone. They pushed us back at one point, and then once we actually entered the zone, they managed to turn it on us and disconnect some of our territory and zero some of our players. It's a bummer, but I just have to fast forward through these final 2 weeks of the war. I still have a even better KvK that I need to share with y'all. And we're now in a queue for another Strife of the Eight. So I'm just behind on things and doing what I can to catch up, basically. If you've enjoyed the video up to this point, please throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. My channel is gaining momentum. I'm pushing to find more time to make videos. And, you know, I'm really just enjoying this whole process because at the end of the day, I have footage of KvKs that no one else has. No one is streaming these KvKs, but they're nevertheless showcasing a high level of play. This KvK just showed high levels on our side. I mean, we did win a 2 versus 6 KvK. As far as I know, no one else has done that in this game. At the very least, no one has, you know, recorded the whole thing and then shown it on a YouTube channel. So we've got the receipts for a 2 versus 6 Strife of the 8 win, and it's really up to everyone else to match that. You know, I'm the kind of person who doesn't really enjoy the fighting as much as I enjoy the relaxed slice of life parts of this game. I know I'm, you know, in the minority on that one. Most people are action junkies who enjoy the dopamine rush of actually fighting. I think because I'm, you know, a leader and I get stressed out and feel pressure during the fighting, I just end up enjoying the victorious or peaceful moments, like when we gathered here at the Great Ziggurat at the very end of the KvK to celebrate our victory, to celebrate getting the star, a really epic star. You really can't beat the Strife of the 8 star. That's the, I think, best star you can get in the game. Props to 2206 for letting us have the star. You know, I think part of why we ended up getting it is because a lot of their players were planning to migrate to 960 after this KvK. But you know, I really credit them for being stand-up allies. And I would also point out that at this point, we've gone quite a long time since there's been like a really like scummy kind of backstabbing in this game. I think kingdom reputations are mattering to people. The ROK community is growing, but at the same time it feels smaller in a way because people are getting more and more known. And we're all just striving for these nice moments of victory. And the real win is not the star, it's not that last week of farming in Kingsland, although both of those are nice, the real victory from Lost Kingdom is that everyone in your kingdom feels good about what happened. Players are unlikely to quit. They're unlikely to migrate away. And you can also recruit in new players. And for us, the real victory, the victory that we're celebrating right now, it's not really what we won. What we actually ended up winning was that the Korean alliance in our kingdom had the best recruiting class that our kingdom has ever seen after this KvK. They brought in a group of about 5 whales, 2 of whom would be our number 1 and number 2 contributors in the next KvK. We also brought in another whale from one of the losing kingdoms in this Strife of the Eight, who was also a top 10 contributor. And, you know, that's sort of the beauty here, is that the real reward is not the additional coin you get. I can't even remember what the name of the coin is. But yeah, if you win the KvK, you get an additional coin. You get a few extra gold heads and some, you know, speed ups and stuff like that. But the victory is the intangible. We put this on our resume, and we then recruit in better talent. And the talent we brought in after this KvK was a game changer for our kingdom. It made our Korean alliance so much stronger, and it put us back on equal ground. And I'm running out of time, so I will see you all on the flip side.